All right, team. So today's topic, we're going to talk about off-season and why it's so important and why it's so important to work with a coach during your off-season. I have a client on here. This person will remain nameless. You guys know who you are. When they send their check-ins to me, in the title it says off-season prep. Now, this is the correct mindset to have when it comes to bodybuilding and being very successful, whether you're a beginner, whether you're a national level competitor, or on the pro stage. Because really, off-season, that's essentially where shows are won. I've been saying it for a long time. You guys know I've been coaching for 20 years now. A lot of people, especially too, that don't take it that serious, this is where they let loose in the off-season. This is where they want to live life and all that other stuff. And here's the thing. There's nothing wrong with having things outside of bodybuilding. 100%. There's obviously more to life than bodybuilding. However, when it comes to being very successful, even at the local level, you have to take it seriously. And that's where shows are won in the off-season. Things have gotten, so competitive even at the local level that you really have to put everything into it to even, win your class, much less an overall title. But that's one of the reasons why we take so much pride when it comes to winning, countless overall titles and pro cards. Shows are won in the off-season. So when most people are relaxing, they're out on the boat or, they're drinking, enjoying, beers every weekend or at meals or whatever else, that is essentially where someone that maybe doesn't have as blessed genetics, that's where they are going to catch up by being so diligent with their program, And the thing is like, if you think about it, if you're letting loose in the off season and you're not taking it seriously, you're not weighing out those meals, how are you going to beat someone that's diligent 24/7, 365 days a year? The short answer is you're not. It's just not going to happen. So again, shows are won in the off season. That's why it's so important to work with a coach in the off season. Most of the people here work with us all year, because that sets you apart and that keeps you accountable for those people that have no accountability. It's just kind of a free range. It's a free for all. They stop weighing their foods because they're not in prep. There's a lot of people, you guys know them. There's so many people out there that you talk to that are working with other teams and other coaches that they think when their prep starts, okay, now I'm going to turn it on. Now I'm going to turn on the switch. And all of a sudden, I'm going to gain all this muscle, and then I'm going to transform my physique, and then I'm going to win the overall. And for most people, that's just not going to happen. Because let's face it, when you start prep, you're not really going to gain a ton of muscle. It's just not going to happen, especially because your calories are going down, and they only get lower. And the other thing, too, is for a lot of people, because the calories are low, because you're depleted, because you're doing cardio and doing all the other things in your life, you're not going to be typically as strong as you would be when they're in the off season, when your calories are higher, when maybe stress is lower, which means it's going to be that much harder to put on muscle. Now, the other thing too I want to address, this is why it's so important in the off season to not miss meals. Now, not only with meals, I'm talking about general supplements. I'm even talking about super supplements here. So there's a lot of people that we talk to that think, oh, now it's prep. Now I'm going to turn it on. Now I'm going to, weigh out weigh out all my meals. I'm going to weigh all my protein. I'm going to take all my general health supplements. I'm going to take my creatine. I'm going to add the pre-workouts and essential amino acids back in. And now I'm going to add the super subs, and now I'm going to gain all this muscle, like a magic trick. And again, once again, it's just not going to happen. It's just not going to. So when we think about the off season, we have to treat it just as importantly as a preparation, because again, that's where you're really going to make big strides in your physique, make strong points even stronger, bring up the weak points. That's where you're really going to grow, because once we get to that prep and you strip everything down, that's where we see added muscle tissue. The judges like to see that too. They like to see the improvements from year to year. They remember who you are. And when they see that improvement, it's going to be much easier for them to give you the nod than if you look exactly the same, maybe even you look worse. So when it comes to taking your general supplements and super supplements, again, if you're not doing things accordingly in the off season, you are setting yourself up for failure. Now, it's not a big deal if you're just doing this for fun and you could care less where you place, obviously keep doing what you're doing. But the thing is that for some of us, we have a very short off season. So whether it's a 4-month off season, maybe it's a 6-month off season, maybe it's an 8-month off season, we want to make sure that we're not missing meals, that we're not missing general health supplements, obviously to stay healthy and increase performance. And we're also not missing our super subs, because again, if you think that you're not going to take any super supplements or general supplements, or you'll just take them when you remember, how are you going to beat someone that is diligent with their food tracking, their general health supplements, or their super supplements in the off season, when that time is so valuable to put on new muscle tissue? Again, the short answer is it's just not going to happen. You're not going to. So again, the key takeaway points: it's best obviously to work with the coach during the off season, because that essentially is more important than the prep. That's where you're going to make your gains, and that's where it's going to show on stage the next time you strip down. And most importantly too is the accountability. Everyone on earth needs that accountability to improve.